I'm a little bit late to the party on this one, but this game deserves a video nonetheless. I stumbled upon this game when it first came out as a actual store page game on Steam because it showed up in my recommended, and I thought it looked really, really cool. And it turns out that I didn't know it at the time, but just looking at it a second ago, you can actually download the prologue of the game for free, which is the section that you're seeing right now, all the way up until the first boss and everything. So if you're interested at all by the end of the video, definitely go check out the store page for this and try to find the prologue page, because you can obviously just download it and try it out for free. But other than that, let's get right into this. So, at the start of the prologue, you play as a character named Varen, who I guess was with a group of other mercenaries, and he got captured trying to go into do this quest that he was sent on to kind of clear out this church. And it turns out that the church was a little bit more than they could handle because they weren't super prepared for what they were getting into. So as you make your way through the little prologue area and kind of make your way up to the top of the dungeon that you're kind of trapped in, you meet a couple of your friends who some of them unfortunately meet their demise here and there. But after you kind of get into it and you start learning the mechanics, it reminds me of a really nice, like, really fun turn-based RPG. Like, that's what it is at its core, and it almost kind of like makes me think of D&D in a way, and I don't know why I kind of get that vibe, but it's just the way you can build your character and kind of like dump your stats into your character and stuff like that. It just kind of reminds me of that. It's the main character that you play as in the prologue isn't your own character or anything like that. You actually get to play as sort of your own character once you finish that, but we'll get into that in just a second. So as you kind of make your way through and you're looting like different barrels and containers and stuff like that, and you can find all kinds of like cool equipment, whether it be, you know, weapons or armor or trinkets that you could sell to a merchant, or, you know, health items that you need, that you definitely need because the game is quite difficult. You kind of like have to learn inventory management and figure out what you need and what you kind of want to keep, as far as like, hey, I could grab this and sell it later, or is it worth, you know, taking up the inventory space where I could, you know, carry more, you know, medical supplies or, you know, food or water or whatever, you know, the actual vitals that I need to make it through. So it kind of becomes like almost like you're fighting yourself for greed, and you want to grab all that cool stuff because you want to sell it and you want to make money, but at the same time, you know, you need inventory space to carry, you know, important stuff too. So that was my biggest problem with the prologue. Not the game's fault, but I didn't know that I wasn't going to be playing as Varen indefinitely. Which, as soon as the prologue ends, you stop playing as Varen. So if you're going through the prologue, don't worry about grabbing all those really cool trinkets and stuff like that are worth tons of money, because, spoiler alert, you don't get to keep them. So, yeah, take that as a note. The prologue does give you a really nice feel for the game. As you get to progress through the area, you find books and stuff like that. As you can see right here, you learn pyromancies from the books that I just picked up. So it kind of gives you a feel for, you know, learning whether or not you want to use magic or whatever the case may be. It almost kind of like reminds me of the opening to Skyrim, how when you get into the main little area and you're, you know, escaping Alduin or whatever in the intro, it gives you a couple of different options where you can loot various chests or whatever, and it gives you, you know, a great sword, or, you know, obviously you can see in my inventory right there, I have a staff, a great sword, a bow, just different kinds of weapons that you can kind of build your character around. And I thought that was kind of cool because it really does, you know, set you up to kind of build your character how you want to build it, or just get used to those kind of weapons that you want to try. Whereas once you get to this little room right here that I'm in, you can kind of search these bookcases and find different books that gives you different kinds of spells, or unlock new skill, like skill trees almost for different weapons, which is really cool. It feels really fleshed out as far as the like weapons and stuff goes, because each weapon category kind of has its own like set of skill trees, where you can go through and get different kinds of skills or passive skills or whatever the case may be to kind of, better your play style using that weapon. So I thought that was very interesting and very thorough. After you progress through the prologue a little bit, you actually get to this sort of room right here. I think this is 2 floors past the where you start at, but this is where you actually start to encounter more than one enemy at a time, and you kind of feel the pressure that the game will put on you as far as how tough some of these enemies are, and it really makes you take a strategic approach to it, and you really have to think out your moves because it is a turn-based game. You really want to take your time in between turns and make sure that you're doing the right thing, or what you think to be the right thing, before you actually go just all in and try to just fight ruthlessly and get yourself killed, because it most of the time isn't going to work that way. If you just charge into the middle of the room and you have 4 or 5 enemies hitting you from all different sides, you're going to take too much damage too quickly and you're going to die. So obviously the strategy I took there was just kind of funnel them into that little hallway, which helped a lot, and just make sure you use your skills efficiently and try to really take down enemies one at a time if possible. So I seen that as the biggest complaint on the Steam page. A lot of the reviews were saying, the game's too hard, and yes, the game is very hard, and sometimes I wish that the difficulty would kind of scale down a little bit, but at the same time, it just kind of pushes that urgency of making sure that you do everything for the right reason and try to take it slowly, and you're not just rushing into stuff. So I don't know, sometimes it can get overwhelming and you will die, trust me. But I don't really think that's a reason to hate the game. There's plenty of difficult games out there that I hate way more than this one, trust me. So, after you make your way all the way to the top floor, you make your way into sort of the big area of the church. I don't know what the actual term for that would be, but you find this guy standing in the middle and some of your other comrades that have been captured and are getting ready to be killed pretty much, and you kind of start this first boss fight, and this fight was kind of a really good example of how it sets the tone for the rest of the game, because you realize how difficult it can be, but at the same time he has all these different kinds of mechanics and stuff to him, which I thought were really fun and interesting. And I mean, I died 2 or 3 times trying to fight this guy, but it was a learning experience just like any other game. You go into it, you take too much damage, you die. You have to learn his moves. You have to make sure you're doing the right thing, this and that. And I mean, it was just really cool. I mean, this is a little bit different because in the prologue you sort of have a checkpoint system, kind of every time you die, I think it just puts you right back at that beginning room right before the boss fight. But in the main game, the only way to save the game is to sleep. And most of the time you're going to be sleeping in a tavern or an inn, or you can even find little bandit camps with sleeping bags outside sometimes, and that's going to be your main way to actually save the game. So the checkpoint system isn't a great thing to rely on, but because it's not there after the prologue. But this definitely was a really cool boss fight, and he even transforms into this huge gargoyle bat beast thing, and I thought that was just a super cool moment. So I don't know, I really like this part. And then after you finish that, your other teammates are oh, you set us up, this was a terrible idea, this was obviously a mission that we couldn't even fathom finishing because it's too hard for us, or we were set up, or whatever the case was. But yeah, that's when you kind of meet Varen as your own character, and I think so far in the game it lets you choose between 4 or 5, I can't remember exactly how many it is, but it lets you choose from a couple of pre-made characters with sort of different weapons that they start off with, and you can kind of build that character from there. Whereas once the game is actually finished, because this game's in early access, they're going to be doing an actual character creator where you can completely build your character from scratch and build him exactly how you want him. Where, I mean, don't get me wrong, any of the characters that you choose at the beginning of the game aren't going to actually impact how you build your character. You can build them however you want, but they start with certain equipment or whatever. So just be mindful of that, I guess. I just chose whatever character, used the sword because that was what I wanted to be proficient in. So that was just kind of what I chose my character off of. So yeah, after that you pretty much get thrown into the, you know, big world area that there is. I think they classify it as a kingdom. But you start off in like a little town, and you can pretty much go talk to, I think he's more or less like the mayor or like just the guy in charge of the town. And he'll give you different quests depending on like what, you know, day it is or whatever. He actually cycles through them, and I think they're randomly generated, but he basically will tell you to go to different parts of the area or like surrounding areas from the town and kind of like try to, you know, help or like clear a dungeon or do whatever, like save a person or just various different quests and stuff like that. And you kind of just have to take it on and make sure that you're, you know, doing it without, you know, getting yourself killed. So I don't know. This is it's all pretty much open from here, and some of the stuff that you can find out in the world is really cool. There's all kinds of like wildlife and stuff like that, and I even got mauled by a bear, which was really fun. So not really fun, but it was, you know, I died. Anyways, yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this video. This game was really cool. I'm definitely going to be trying to like work on playing it here and there, especially with some of the newer updates and stuff they have coming out for it, because they've got sort of like a roadmap kind of, you know, with rough outlines of what they want to try to add within the next year or two. So I'm going to definitely keep my eye on it and keep trying to play it here and there. And yeah, so check out the prologue on Steam, free to play. And if you really want the game, it's only like $15 anyway. So I thought it was a really good, you know, cool game for the price. So if you like it, check it out. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.